Thank you for joining our webinar today. We'll be starting in just a few moments. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Rachel Siedemann. I'm the Marketing Manager for Zunesis. We're excited to present this webinar today to you to show you the latest solution from Aruba Networks. Just a little bit about Zunesis. We have been in business for 16 years as of tomorrow, and we love helping our customers out with all their needs. We are a Aruba Platinum partner, and our solution architects have an average of 23 years of experience. We have helped out with the networking needs of several different customers from schools, apartment buildings, event centers, and many other industries. So we have a wide variety of experience in implementing Aruba network products. Today we have Rich Horsley, who's a Channel SE from Aruba, and he will be going over the new product, Aruba ESP. Just a few housekeeping items. There is a resources section where you can download some resources about Aruba ESP. There's also a Q&A section where you can enter any questions that you may have. We will answer all of those at the end of the webinar, but feel free to enter those in throughout. And as well, you all are on mute throughout the whole webinar. If you do have any technical issues, please let us know that as well. And I will pass it over to Rich. Thanks, Rich, and here you go.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks everyone for taking the time to join us today. As Rachel said, my name is Rich Horsley, and I am a Channel SE with Aruba Networks. I first joined the networking industry with Hewlett-Packard back in 1999, and have been spending the last 20 plus years with HP doing various different roles from sales to marketing and now engineering in the networking family. And it's been an exciting time and has been a really fun thing to watch the HP networking business grow into what is now the #2 networking provider worldwide. So what we're going to talk about today is our solution from Aruba Networks called Aruba ESP. And this stands for our Edge Services Platform. But before I dive right into the Edge Services Platform, I just want to kind of get us all level same things here. If you think about, where we're at here, 2020, and of course, 2020 turned out to be quite the year. But as we look back over previous decades, what we're finding is that 2020 really is at the forefront of what we're looking at as the next disruption. Right? If you think about what happens in technology, about every decade or so, we go through these major transformations. The 60s and 70s were these centralized mainframes. In the 80s and 90s, we moved into this client-server distributed architecture, and the last 2 decades have definitely been disrupted and by that mobility and the cloud solution, right? So we've brought everything into the centralized place, and what we're looking again now here in 2020 is this new concept of an intelligent edge. And you say, well, the edge of what, right? So what is that edge, and what does it actually look like here? When you think about where we're at with the era of business that we're in, it's really being driven by data. And in the last 10 years, you've heard a lot of talk about big data and data analytics and things like that. But we're not talking about the data that's generated. What I want to talk about with data today is the data that's produced in really high quantities and really, truly at great speeds at the edge of the network where that user connects. As the slide indicates there, over 50% of the data that's going to be created and processed is going to be created outside the traditional data center or the cloud. And so that means it's being created and processed at the edge of the network. And you say, well, how is that possible? Well, it's made possible by these 55 billion devices worldwide that are connecting at the edge of that network. So you think about all these devices that we have, right? Our handheld devices, IoT, all these different things are generating data at the edge of the network. And traditionally, the way that networks have been created, those data networks had to be, the data was taken clear back to the data center, processed there, and then redistributed. This took a really personal interest for me literally over a decade ago at the birth of my own son. When my son was born in Northern California back in 2008, he was born at a hospital where they were implementing some new technologies on their wireless networks. And the new technologies that were implemented then were things like voice over Wi-Fi services. So they literally had a wristband on my son that not only gave you his name and his parents' names and all the information that you typically see on a hospital wristband, that wristband also had an RFID tag embedded into that wristband. And the RFID tag was designed so that if we took him out of the room without first disabling an alarm system, then an alarm would go off. And literally every 20 or 30 feet down the hallway of the hospital, there was another keypad where you had to stop and disable the alarm system. And the nurse explained to me as we were taking him upstairs to give him a bath that the whole technology was designed around keeping things in the hospital that should stay in the hospital. So things like durable medical equipment, things like newborns. She told me they had Alzheimer's patients that wore these same wristbands. And the whole idea was we're going to keep everything in the hospital that has to stay in the hospital. Well, if you think about the data that all of these type of devices, including, RFID and Bluetooth and even Zigbee and these technologies bring to the edge of the network, that's accumulating a lot of data. And now what are we going to do with that data? Are we going to push it clear back to the data center? Can we actually process it here at the edge of the network? And with that data comes not only complexity, but the opportunity. So how do we troubleshoot and determine the best path for data, or determine if there's a problem with the data getting where it needs to go? So this data is really going to drive the next decade of transformation, right? So what does that, start to look like? Well, when you combine that with the new generation applications and compute that are really, designed to work with each other and with the cloud but they operate at the edge, well, then that data being generated needs to be analyzed and acted upon in real time or in near real time as we can get, so that we can actually deliver the experiences and drive greater efficiencies to improve business outcomes, right? So if you look at the efficiencies here, again, think about IoT sensors, right? In simple things like manufacturing equipment. Just think of the IoT stuff that you might have at your own home already, right? Things like a thermostat, things like a security camera. All these devices at the edge of the network are creating data. Now, how do we efficiently move that data to really result in what's going to ultimately be the experience, right? So if the data doesn't move efficiently, then we're not going to have the experiences that we would expect to have, right? Just a simple example of this. I don't know how many of you have a webcam as part of your security system, like a Ring doorbell or a Nest security camera or Wise or something like that. These are great little devices that people are putting inside their homes, outside their homes. And one of the biggest complaints about the technology today is about what they call ghosting, right? So this is the idea that, hey, there's movement, but these cameras typically aren't recording 24/7. The cameras typically come on and start recording once they detect movement. Well, depending on the quality of camera and the processor it's used in it and whatnot, sometimes the detection of motion and the start to record, you don't think that is it should be a very big delay, but it's typically a big enough delay in these solutions today that the biggest complaint about these cameras is the FedEx guy, the UPS guy, somebody brings something, puts it on my doorstep, the camera activates and goes, hey, yep, there's motion at the door. Let me bring you an alert. You open up the app, and what you see is, the last second and a half of video is the guy walking away. We didn't get his face. We see a package, and we see him walking away. So that's the difference between, hey, our experience isn't living up to what we think it should, right? So I put the camera out there so I can see who's coming. Well, if all I get, then experience isn't matching up. So how do we create the networks, and how do we build this infrastructure in a way that's really going to drive the outcome that we're all expecting? So literally, what we call this is an intelligent edge solution. And that's what we're trying to get to here, is an intelligent edge. Now, I gave you an example, with the cameras that you might see at home. But I also want to share with you an example of a large enterprise who uses this intelligent edge and what they were trying to do. This is a company called Texmark, and they do chemical manufacturing. Now, if you think about chemical manufacturing, literally what you're dealing with is a refinery of highly flammable chemicals and high heat. So, those two don't typically jive. If I've got an accelerant and a spark, I've got a problem usually. Well, these guys have dialed it into a science to be able to say, hey, listen, if you have the right amount of chemical and the right amount of spark, we can actually refine these chemicals and make them useful for the people of the world. So again, with highly flammable chemicals and high heat, safety is their top priority. And so when you looked at their environment, they have over 130 pumps, and they've got miles and miles of pipes. And the way that they make sure that this thing had in the past was they used to do what they called walk downs. Okay? And a walk down literally meant that they would send a live person through the plant to look, to listen, to feel for heat and things like that. Listen for excessive vibration. Can I feel some vibration? Are there noises that are not, normal here with the operation of the refinery? And so they were sending live people out to walk this. Now, it's imperative that this happens, because if they don't do these inspections, then of course they're at high risk for the catastrophic explosion, right? So when they started talking to us about the walkdowns, these walkdowns were literally, they were using 35,000 person hours every year. And the cost of that alone was over $1 million. So we were looking at it and said, okay, we can help you come up with a solution to help you reduce that cost. And so what they did is they ended up digitizing their pumps and their pipes and their processes and their utilities. And so Aruba came in and we deployed an Aruba Wi-Fi solution and beacons, Bluetooth beacons, and literally created a location-based tracking system and a Wi-Fi system that would talk to their new digitized pumps and things like that, so they could look at the whole solution. People down these pipes and walk miles and miles of these pipes to find out if there was a problem. Of course, we backed it up with our HPE compute and storage resources, so they could get real-time data collection, and tied it all together with some customized applications that would return and report and help the plant personnel with what they were actually trying to get. So what were the results of this? Well, when they started being able to monitor the pump pressure, the temperature, the vibrations, potential, then they could actually tell what the potential malfunctions were going to be, and they could immediately detect them, and the system would notify them even before there was an opportunity for a malfunction, keeping workers and people out of and potentially dangerous environment. In the case of an emergency, then they could use the geolocation services, use the locationing services, as well as an alarm system, and even weather conditions could help them determine, okay, what's the safest response? We've got a gas cloud in the air. This is the direction the wind's blowing. Bring me back some data on what's the appropriate response to this. Bottom line is they basically achieved a 50% reduction in their planned maintenance costs, and they increased their production uptime. So if we were able to come to your business and say, hey, listen, if I can reduce your planned maintenance costs and increase your win-win, and that's something that we all are heading in that direction for. So when you think about this concept, the intelligent edge, looking in the rearview mirror, we can easily say, listen, what got us here? The networks that we built our solutions on in the past aren't going to get us to where we're going, right? So an intelligent edge really requires compute and networking and devices to reliably and consistently work together at the edge. So that way you're getting your improved operational efficiencies and even can create you some new revenue streams as well. So an organization really needs to rethink what their architecture is and their operational model, because again, what got us here won't get us there. So how does that look in as we go forward, right? Well, before we roll forward, kind of take a look at what's been going on with cloud and mobility. So in the past, we held, all this compute power in the palm of our hands that literally connected to a network of apps that were sitting out in the cloud, right? But if you think about it, the cloud really is nothing more than, it's a big centralized data centers that are taking the compute and the storage and the networking and putting them in a single place platform for the apps, right? And so this is what was generally known and we referred to as, this cloud and mobility era. So what happens next, right? So the edge, if you think about what happens here, the intelligent edge is really kind of the opposite of that. It's a highly distributed place where we get all of this data and all of this happening out where we are, right? So now it's where we live and where we work or where we play. We're bringing all this compute and all this stuff here. So the data that we generate at the edge really becomes almost what do you want to call it, an economical burden, if you will, to drive all of that back to the cloud. If we backhaul out all of that data that's being generated here back to the cloud for processing, then that just becomes an economical nightmare. So to drive real-time or the near real-time outcomes, then we really need to process that data at the edge where it's taking place so that you can really take action in real time or in near real time as real time as possible, right? So to accomplish that, what we really need to do is bring together the compute, the storage, the networking technology all at the edge and convert that edge data business outcomes. And so that's what we refer to as the intelligent edge. So the edge itself still connects to the cloud. It doesn't live by itself, and it's not autonomous. The cloud still is providing a very important part of this solution. I want to make sure that that's clear. We're not saying, hey, we're going to abolish a cloud. But what we're saying is that the cloud provides the unlimited compute and storage for developing and testing these really complex AI-type models, and also integrates, with the cloud-based business applications to really give you, worldwide visibility and access. Okay? But the intelligent edge is going to make it be more effective in driving the business outcomes, where you are when you need them. So these two are going to work hand in hand together, this cloud and then the intelligent edge that's stacked at the edge of it. So when you think about your network, you really need to think of your network from the edge to the cloud, right? So that's really a network that has the capacity to support and secure all these IoT devices, that it can actually enable some real-time conversion, I would say, of the data into outcomes at the edge, and then efficiently and securely connect the edge to the cloud, right? So we've always thought of the network as just being these pipes in the got you the connection between the edge and the cloud. Now we're saying, hey, listen, your edge needs to really step up its game. It can't just be the pipes. It needs to be intelligent pipes. It needs to enable this data conversion and be able to handle some processing at the edge of the network instead of just being the pipes that forward everything along. So what does that framework look like? Right? So we've kind of looked at this and said, if you're going to offer edge to cloud architecture that enables your business to get the full potential out of the intelligent edge, then we've got to really rethink this. Okay? So we developed a framework that consists really of 4 elements to help you get organized and understand what it is that you're trying to do. And those 4 elements, the first 2 are connect and protect. Okay? So, and if you really kind of think about that in the past, that's been the role of the network, right? It's connect and protect, connect and protect. I mean, we've developed an entire industry around connect all these data cables together, connect them wirelessly at the edge to devices, but we've got to connect everything, and then we have to protect those connections and make sure that they're not susceptible to and threats, both internal and external. So that's been the whole kind of role of the framework in the past, is this connect and protect. Now we're taking it to the next level where we're saying it also needs to analyze and act. You say, well, what does that mean for a network in order for us to be able to analyze and act? So it basically means that when failures pop up, or if a user complains, we all love to get the call in IT, right? The Wi-Fi's down. Oh man, now you're sending me on a manhunt. okay? Or I can't connect. Well, again, those are both really, really big things, right? It's not likely the Wi-Fi is down. It means a user can't connect, but a whole host of things could be the reason why. So how do we get the network to be able to analyze and act on those things, right? And help us to actually resolve those issues quickly. So we need a network that can almost think for itself, that can actually see beyond the horizon and identify the issues before they actually impact the business. And so let's kind of take a look maybe in some more detail at, what these look like, at the literal edge here. So in our first, snapshot of this, when you think about connect, that's right. We're asking networks to connect, and we're going to ask them to connect at very high speeds. We have to connect over different mediums, copper, fiber, Wi-Fi, whatever it is. That's been their primary, objective, is to connect. Okay. In addition to connect, we've also asked them to protect, right? Now, this is something that we've all done with literally, firewalls and all different sorts of solutions. Okay, so we've asked them to connect, and then we've also asked them to protect. When you think about what's going on here and why you need to protect, we're all clear on that, right? We don't need outside threats or inside threats, coming at and taking data. There's a ton of new devices out there. Again, we saw the slide previously that 55 billion devices worldwide by 2022. This just makes for a ton of devices. So what does analyze look like? Well, when you think about the connect and protect, that's been the limitations of what we've asked the network to do in the past. But in this new data era, and the intelligent edge is going to be asked to do more, then you've got to be proactive. So you have to deploy an edge to cloud architecture that's actually going to go get data from each device. Oh man, that sounds like a pain, right? If I've got to go get data from each device, then does that mean I'm putting sniffers everywhere? Well, with Aruba's solutions, we have switches today that are actually built with the ability to go get data from every device built right into them. Okay, so literally once we get that data, now something has to be done with it, right? So artificial intelligence can be used to basically identify and allow you to set up some baselines to say, hey, this is what normal network behavior would look like. If it is outside of this, can we create some alerts? And not only create some alerts, but actually make some network configuration changes that will allow us to drive on and be successful in not only mitigating that, but maybe preventing other things from happening in the future. So we have to be able to analyze what's going on, and then we also have to be able to act on it, right? So when we're talking about acting on it, it's bring me all this data. There's there, but again, Aruba makes switches today that have analyzing tools and telemetry tools and things like that built right into it, so that you literally have like a technician on a switch sitting in there on each one of your switching devices, collecting that data, analyzing it, putting it into a database that you can now take action on. Okay? So again, connect, protect, analyze, and act, and that's really the direction that we see this going. And with Aruba, we're going to do this with what we call our ESP architecture, okay? Or Edge Services Platform. So Aruba ESP, when we introduced this earlier this spring. It literally is the industry's first AI-powered cloud-native platform that's designed to unify, automate, and protect the edge of the network. Okay? So if you think about, like AWS, right? Amazon Web Services, that's a platform to build applications. ESP is a platform to help organizations get the power out of the intelligent edge. And so it uses 3 key technology attributes and 1 operational attribute to enable organizations to get an edge-to-cloud architecture that helps you capitalize on new opportunities. The first part of this that you see here is AIOps, okay? And it almost gives you like a sixth sense to help you identify and resolve issues before they impact the business. And it really is the next generation of AI-powered network management that goes beyond just an AI-based problem identification solution, but we combine problem identification with automation in a way that gives IT the ability to make sure that the network's up and available and performs at the level to make sure that it's meeting your SLAs, your service level agreements, right? So that's AIOps, and we'll talk a little bit more about these in some detail. The unified infrastructure part of this, of course, is where we've always had a great stronghold here at the HPE and Aruba with the Wi-Fi and the switching and the SD-WAN and the IoT, and this infrastructure really has to bring together all of these different infrastructures to provide you a consistent operational experience across your wired and wireless and even your cellular and things like that. So if you think about it, what ends up happening is from your campus to your branch to your data center, your remote worker, you should be able to see all this and manage it, but they should all experience and have the same level of service given to them, regardless of where those people are. So it has this unified infrastructure piece that is the very core component of it. Part of this is our zero trust security solution. Now, zero trust is something that Aruba has always been very, very proud of because many vendors out there are a trust then verify type solution, but Aruba starts out with a zero trust security. Okay? If you want on this network, you're going to have to be authenticated and authorized. We are not going to just let people on and then figure out who they are or then figure out what level of service they should get. It's a zero trust security. So that means that we're telling the default to everyone is no, but through some really cool policies and really great solutions like ClearPass and others, we can open up the gates and say, hey, yeah, you're allowed on the network, and depending on who you are and what you are and the device that you're using and where you're located or what time of day it is, we'll give you the appropriate level of access to the network that you need based on any of those and more, and a permutation or combination of all of those different attributes to make sure that you get the right level of access that you need. And then at the bottom, you see this is really wrapped together as a service model. So software as a service or a network as a service, HPE Financial Services wrapped all this infrastructure together and this solution together to enable some really great deployment models and allow people to do this, within their own budget. So let's talk first about AIOps and what it is, because, there's a lot about AI, and just like a lot of other solutions in the networking industry, people will use the same term to talk about it in a lot of different solutions, right? SD-WAN is one of them. You can talk to many different SD-WAN vendors, and they all define it a little bit different to, match up to what solutions they're putting out in the marketplace. We're finding that AI and AIOps is one of those types of things, and again, in the industry, relatively new to think about at the edge of your network. And so a lot of different vendors are coming to this and kind of tweaking the definition or trying to make it, fit, their solution. So, you're going to find that some are using simple things like data analytics to show you this is probably the most likely root cause, and here's some recommended most likely changes that you should fix. Here's some things that we would recommend, but to what degree of confidence we can tell you that this is definitely the problem and definitely the solution, that's up in the air. So it's better than the guesswork that we would do, but it's not as good as what we've developed here with Aruba AIOps. So with AIOps, we provide exact root cause and exact change recommendations. And right now we are proving it with greater than 95% accuracy. So because of that, you can be assured that the recommended settings are the best settings, and the solutions that you should. It really eliminates the guesswork or the trial and error that could make things worse. And so we're really bringing, or I should say, refining the outcomes here and giving it to you with three really great benefits, right? So we can help you react and resolve issues really quickly. We can predict and preempt issues before they impact users or the business, and that's huge, right? To be able to literally, look forward in time and be able to say, hey, this could be a problem. You may want to take a look at this. And then continuously optimize. We got to make sure that the user experience at the end is what they are expecting, right? So our service level agreements have to be met. So want to look at the next thing here and show you some things about literally how this can work in action, right? So let's just take a really common one, like that we started with before, right? IT gets the phone call and the mobile user is saying, "Oh, can't connect to Wi-Fi. This is terrible. Our Wi-Fi here is terrible," right? And then they start to unload on the IT help desk person, right? So in this case, that's the problem. Well, what's the root cause? Well, we found that there were too many dual band devices connected band. Well, how did we find that? Well, in industry average, what we're finding right now, it's normally taking between 20 to 30 hours of troubleshooting, determining the problem, and then implement some sort of a cause. So if you think about what we've done with this for all our tech people on the phone, typically you're setting up and you're running tests to sift through device logs on each AP. Then you got to determine the types of devices that are actually operating in that area. How many of those devices are just 2.4 only? How many of them will support 2.4 and 5G? Now, if they support both 2.4 and 5G, then how many of those 5G devices are jumping on the 2.4 network? Then you got to start tweaking knobs somewhere, right? So most of us are going to go to transmit power, and we're going to start to encourage those dual band devices to connect to 5G by, turning the knobs a little bit. We're going to turn the 2.4 down, transmit power, because it has a radius. And so now we're going to, implement this, and we're going to go, okay, we'll see if that works. And the way that we measure if it works or not is because the number of calls, from end users went down or stopped altogether, right? So we go, oh, okay, well, that must have worked. So that's one way, that we can do this. Or we can do this with AIOps, right? We can say, all right, let's go and see what actually happens when that user calls into IT and says, hey, I got a problem. So the admin opens up Aruba Central and uses an AI search on the username of the person calling. Hey, this is Bill Smith. Okay, great. We've looked him up, Active Directory. We got his username. Let's go ahead and do a search on his name. So we search for the user and we find their device. And when we click on that device, it takes us to the client screen, and I can see all the information about the client. And then I can click on a tab called AI Insight, and it's going to actually show me the access point transmit power recommendations for that AP that he's connected to with that device. And so AIOps recommends, oh, hey, why don't you change your transmit power? And on the 2.4 radio, change it from a minimum of 6 and a high of 23 dBm. Why don't you go ahead and change that to something like a minimum max of 9? And on your 5 gigahertz, why don't you change it from 18 as a minimum and 27 as a max? Why don't you change that down to 15 to 8, at 15 and 18 is your max? And so we're reducing the transmit power, and just like we did in our previous solution, but now we're transmitting it to specific settings that AIOps is telling us it's going to work. Okay? And now that we've done that, boom, we've solved the problem. We're moving the proper clients over to the 5 gigahertz side, and we've done it in a little less than 3 hours total, instead of doing this over a 20 to 30 hour solution. So now AIOps is helping us actually get to the end and make really, really cool decisions about how to make our network more efficient. Okay. Here's another example. This is kind of a fun one. This actually happened with a big box retailer customer of ours, where the big box customer was saying, hey, we've got Wi-Fi here and we've got guest Wi-Fi on, but we have over 1,000 stores nationwide. And what we think seems to be happening here is that as people pass by, their phone is, reaching out and pinging and saying, hey, I'm here as a client. Can I join your network? Well, that's no big deal if one user passes by the big box store and their Wi-Fi just, acknowledges that it's there, and then the guy didn't even try to get on the Wi-Fi, but it still took processing time and bandwidth for the AP to tell the passerby, hey, yeah, I see you there. If you want on, you'll have to submit a password or whatever. This is locked. So if you think about, hundreds and thousands of people passing by a store on a regular basis, and all with some sort of device, pinging that AP, their suspicion was, and they were right in their suspicion, that just the passerbys in front of their building was actually degrading the performance of their network because of the high number of people that pass by there every day. And the APs were, pinging back to every one of them. Yep, I see you. If you want on, you'll have to provide a username and a password. Right? This happens when you drive through your own neighborhood, right? You drive through your own neighborhood and just click on, your Wi-Fi setting on your phone. How many APs do you see in the list? Well, the reason that you see them there in the list is because your phone has gone out and pinged every one of them, said, hey, this is Bill's phone and I'm driving by. I may want on, right? So AIOps was told, okay, you know what? We're going to set your threshold here so that we can tell the difference between who the actual users are, people who are coming in and dwelling and walking around the store and trying to get on the network, versus those who are just passing by. So AIOps said, hey, listen, you just need to adjust your signal to noise ratio probe threshold. So once they were able to do that and they tested it, they were able to greatly improve the performance of their Wi-Fi network just by ignoring all those drive-bys happening. So that's what this little animation is showing you here, is that the people are blocked from joining. Okay? So as the outcome there shows that illegitimate users, or those who weren't actually trying to log on to the network, they reduced the acknowledgments of those by 95% and increased their network capacity by 25% without changing any hardware or introducing any new technologies. Okay? So if you think about that, peer networks, have the same issue, right? So now we've got these passerbys where we can just say, hey, listen, in all these different, vertical markets, whether it's manufacturing, warehouse, universities, big box, we can help reduce the number of pings that you're getting and that your APs are trying to respond to, right? So, if you really kind of think about what we're trying to deal with here is, if you're going to deliver AIOps, which means, relying on the accuracy and the relevancy of the artificial intelligence that you actually get and take action on, then you really need to assemble a strong AI platform. And so Aruba has done that. We've built this thing from the ground up to give you those reliable outcomes that you want to see at the top, right? If you think about this, we actually have been doing this going clear back to 2014. And so if you look at this industry of AI ops, this is a really, really new industry, especially at the edge of the network. And so we're 6 years into this already and have been, building this thing to literally work from the ground up successfully, knowing that this is where things were going to be with IoT. But, if you think about it, the real power behind AI ops comes from the data. And so with our cloud native AI solution, we're literally monitoring over 50,000 sites. Our customers, that AI data comes back to us, and we assemble a database where we're able to look and say, okay, hey, look, in these cases where it's a customers passerbys are degrading the network, this is the correct settings to move things to, and it's worked in 95% of the institutions that we've told to change it to this, boom, then that becomes the default answer, and we build it out. So it's literally taking all of that type of data from all of our these customers using these solutions, and literally we get data from 500,000 network devices and 20 million endpoints, and it helps us generate the solution viable outcome. When you look at the AI ops, it's really broken down into 3 simple features. AI insights, which is that automated anomaly detection, and it'll make recommendations, and the peer-based network optimizations. What do we see from the Aruba database and other peer type organizations similar to yours? The ability to do AI search, okay? So the ability to do just literally natural language query of the data lake that we have is huge. And then the AI assist, the ability to do some automated trouble ticket generation, right? So the combination of these features enable us to really redefine what the IT outcomes are going to be. To kind of take a look at what this really looks like, when you have a single unified architecture across your campus and your branch and your data center, your remote workers, the ability to have a single pane of glass and a single unified data lake is really imperative, because it means that you don't have any more bouncing from tool to tool and screen to screen to try and go find the info that you're trying to get to troubleshoot, right? Also, that information gets correlated and displayed in context, and that's huge, right? So when you can quickly get informed decision because it's there and it's in the right context, meaning it's this time of day and it's happening to this user and it's in this building, that's huge, because the old way of doing it, I had to go get a syslog from this report on that particular switch, and then I had to go line up with what was happening from a wireless controller and find its syslogs, and now we're trying to correlate events in time of days, and oh, by the way, somebody put a wire snark or something out there on that port, and let's go see if by the time we start trying to correlate all these different events, that's where we were talking about, 20 to 30 hours can pile up before we, get an average, for an average time to get to a solution. So this is huge to be able to bring this all together in a single spot and be able to have the admins view it and manage it, and come up with solutions to get you to where you need to be. The Zero Trust Network, I mentioned that earlier before. This is really huge for Aruba. We're a big believer in this. But now that we can put some machine learning around it, we can actually give you the ability to say, hey, listen, it's not just good enough to be able to say that this is a Windows device or this is a security camera. I want to get down to the brass tacks and be able to say, hey, this is a security camera and it's X brand, and the security camera is system, and so therefore it should get this level. Okay, so if you think about it, in the past, your authentication for a wireless security camera or a wireless camera in general just may look like, a simple 802.1x. Okay, great, we're going to throw a security camera on the network. Okay, well, I don't know if that security camera is just a webcam that's sitting at somebody's desk so they can do, Zoom calls, or I don't know if it's a security camera that's supposed to be, guarding the doorway or, providing security. But with our Zero Trust Network, we can literally look at this and we can say, okay, we should only give access to the DVR that's recording security information to those cameras that are actually guarding doors, guarding windows, guarding the building, whatever that is. And the webcam sitting at Rich's desk shouldn't have access to that. Well, how does my network distinguish between, well, what's a webcam and what's a security cam if they both just show up as camera in my system and they both got an IP address? Well, that's where the Zero Trust Network comes in, and we can be able to say, hey, this camera is a security camera, and we know it's a security camera because of some of its behaviors. It talks to the DVR. It is of this certain brand. It is using this operating system. It has this firmware. We can do some deep packet inspection and figure out what level of access we should give that camera. So now we can tell that camera, hey, listen, you're a security camera. You're only allowed to talk to the DVR. You're not allowed to, talk to anything else. And by chance that security camera started maybe uploading large information of data to a server in a foreign country, then we might say that camera is not acting like a security camera anymore. It may be compromised. Quick, flip the switch on that and stop it from doing it. Well, that's what our Aruba solutions can do, is actually identify, are you who you say you are? So we've called you a camera and you're acting like a security camera. Now, once you've started acting like a security camera, is there anything in your behavior that says you're not acting like a security camera? And if there is, well, then we'll run a script that says shut you down. So Zero Trust becomes a really important part of this Intelligent Edge ESP platform. So how do you bring that cloud experience to the edge, right? So if you think about it, the whole concept behind the cloud was really to simplify things and make them easier to deploy, make them easier to manage, and things like that. So how do you bring that type of experience to the edge as a solution? Well, as I mentioned before, we've got a number of different solutions that Aruba supports and sells today to implement this exact solution. So our cloud native software as a service, so we can do this either in the cloud or on premises with Aruba solution. We can do it through a managed service provider. So we've got great partners like Zunesis who can do managed service provider solutions, and then Aruba has its own managed connectivity service through our own network as a service solution that we offer at Aruba. And as I mentioned before, all this gets tied together with the HPE Financial Services solution. The other thing that we've done to make this more exciting is we've brought together, there we go. We brought together some, there we go, a place that we call the Aruba Developer Hub. Okay, so if you want to integrate with our platforms, then you can do that just literally using our open API solution. So this whole solution, the Edge Service Platform, is an open platform. And so it gives you the ability to say, hey, listen, I've got an idea. I think we could use this part of a solution that we have here and combine it with an Aruba solution and make this thing even better. And so we've opened up this developer hub to be really just a really cool, comprehensive resource for developers that'll give you the Aruba APIs and then the documentation and stuff that you need in order to leverage the whole platform. The architecture, when you're looking at this, as you see here, is really layered into three different places, right? Services, a policy, and an infrastructure, right? So everybody's traditionally thought of Aruba as this infrastructure player, right, with the Wi-Fi and the switching and those type of solutions. With the policies, this is something that's been a huge part of our ClearPath solution. Is this policy-based network access control. And then when we lay the services on top of this, especially, this is where this really takes off. So our Aruba Central platform allows you an easy way to provision the network. It does the orchestration. It's where the AIOps are, your location-based services, and the management. When you wrap all this together, then this becomes a really, really powerful architecture to get you where you need to go. We're really excited about the history and literally how we got here. When you think about where we are today, and sometimes when we introduce technologies like this concept of AIOps and our Edge Services platform, gosh, those are kind of new technologies. I'm not sure I'm really willing to jump off the cliff with you there, Aruba, yet and take this dive. And what I want to assure you of is you're not. In fact, what you're doing is you're climbing the mountain with this. And when you look back 6 years now ago, 2014, that's where we started to build this foundation, right, with the cloud managed Wi-Fi solution and the solutions that were brought to market then. In 2016, we took that and we said, okay, you know what, we're going to bring that to our switching line as well, so we could have the cloud managed solution manage our switches. In 2017, we started to do this started to do the AI part of this, and we made some acquisitions that really helped us get a great foundation and actually propel us forward with this. In 2018, our SD branch solution brought us some more intelligence and some more integrity to the whole branch, all the way to the cloud solution. And today with ESP, and when we launched this earlier this spring, it again is based on the last 6 years of doing some really heavy investing internally and building products out that would allow us to be here today. So this solution has been built in today's modern era for today's modern era. This is not a bolt-on of a bolt-on of a bolt-on trying to make your old network do things that are not native to it. This has literally been about building a platform, ability, the flexibility, and the agility to literally say, I'm ready to go out there and take on this IoT in this mobile-first world. So that's the Aruba ESP solution. I'm going to look here really quick and see if there are any questions that we can answer for you. It doesn't look like there's any questions here in the chat box. Are there? I'll just ask Rachel to make sure. I'm not missing anything
no,
here.
No, not at this time. I'm not seeing any. So, but thank you very much. That was some great information, Rich. If you'd like to get some more information about Aruba ESP, feel free to visit arubanetworks.com, and you can also go there to learn more about the Silver Peak acquisition that happened recently. And feel free to go to Zunesis.com to see the services that we offer, and also we have some great events coming up in October in honor of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So check those out and sign up for them. We also offer wireless site surveys and network health checks. So if you'd like more information about that, you can reach out to any of our account managers. But we appreciate you joining us today, and you will get a copy of the webinar emailed out to you tomorrow, and your special incentive will be sent to you later today. If there are no other questions, we'll let you get back to your afternoon, and thanks again.